Hey, Mati, what's happening? Greenspan in the house.
What's going on?
Bro, I'm getting into the Purim spirit. I'm trying not to look at the chart and just kind of tap into the energy of dressing up. You know, I love your beard. It's gone leaps and bounds since we last spoke. You look like the Jewish Santa, and hopefully today you can tell us about a bull market that you'll be bringing through our chimneys soon. You know what I'm saying? But it's good to see you on screen again, my friend. It's been a minute.
Yes, sir. I'm having fun, and glad to see you in the Purim spirit. Oh my gosh.
I'm dressing up as a Paw Patrol, like one of the dogs in Paw Patrol. It's my son's decision, so I'm gonna rock something like this, I think, and some doggy ears, just to kind of keep it fresh on the Purim costume. And hello to Elon,
Yo,
Collider. What's happening, mate? I saw you just put out a AR podcast. Everyone's pivoting to AR today. I love the. I love the. Remind me the name again. I thought it was brilliant.
yeah, gvina melachutit, which is like
Melachutit. That's brilliant.
like
It's,
artificial cheese.
super intelligent bread. Super intelligent cheese.
Yeah,
Yeah, epic stuff.
yeah. So I think like AI is all the rage. What happened to your stripper hat? What was going
My
on?
stripper hat. It's not a stripper hat. It's a Paw Patrol hat.
He's going to arrest the Epstein pedophiles. That's what's happening.
No, I wouldn't have to travel very far from him. I mean, the Epstein pedophiles are a lot of them. They seem to be hiding out in this country, unfortunately. But enough about
How many?
Jeffrey.
What do you mean? Only Ehud Barak. Who else is in Israel?
It's only one.
I
agree.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Like a lot of them are just, of the faith, not necessarily Israeli. They probably like Lex Wexner. Like I've been going in deep into a rabbit hole about that guy, the Victoria's Secret founder, who's actually, if you follow Israeli politics, like he's got the Wexner Foundation, which is sort of like the George Soros Foundation of Israel. They fund a lot of left-wing causes, and this guy themed like a teenage.
I just want to say it's way more than that. Like you can't really kind of like go up the ranks in the Israeli military if you don't go to the like the Wexner Foundation thing.
Foundation.
So he was highly involved in. Let's say I'm not a big fan of the current government, but he's highly involved in anything to do against it. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just like. It just gives you a pause for thought. Like you know, a lot of us those of us in the proletariat, just like we spend all our time and money and thinking like, people just think like they try to climb up. How do I get to this elite? Like, and then you get there and you realize it's like a gentleman's pedophile ring with princes and financiers. It just like blew a lid in, I think, in everyone's mind, and it blew a lid in the markets as well. I mean, a lot of the in bull markets, people would chuck out, this kind of rumors and move on. But there were legit people in this world that thought that still think that Jeffrey Epstein is Satoshi or somehow was involved in the creation of Bitcoin, somehow controls Bitcoin. And that kind of had some sort of impact on the market. So it's, it has rolled over into our sector. But I feel like Bitcoin just looks for, someone said in one of the groups, like it just looks for another asset that's dumping in order to correlate with, so it's just looking for bad news. It's like that friend that's always super negative, and he's just like looking for like, oh, what, you called me short, you called me fat, like he's just looking for like slots, and that's Bitcoin right now. It's just can't catch a break. Mati, what are you sharing with us, sir? A list of the.
I made a website. This is
Really?
how many people have been convicted. 0. It's been 6.5 years. 0 convictions. 2 people have been arrested so far. So I made this website last week. And
wait, who are the 2 people? Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein?
No. Besides Ghislaine and Jeffrey, there were 2 people in the UK that actually just happened.
I mean, the
last
Prince
week.
Andrew got arrested.
Yeah, Prince Andrew's one. Yeah.
And yesterday, Peter Mendelsohn got arrested as well. So Prince Andrew arrested, waiting trial, and then Peter Mendelsohn arrested and waiting trial. So yet to be arrested. I mean, look, a lot of these people, like, we know that they have some form of contact with Jeffrey Epstein, but from there to say that they were involved in some criminal activity is very difficult. However, there are some no-brainers on here. Alan Dershowitz, Bill Clinton, Bill Gates. I mean, you know, these people like Reid Hoffman, come on, man. You guys can make some arrests already, FBI. And then you see like pictures of Kash Patel from, the FBI director, like partying up with the Olympic team. Like, do your fucking job, dude. Start arresting people already.
Yeah.
Can I give like
terrible.
a slight counter argument for this?
I'd like to see you try.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like this thing is beginning to blow out of proportion, and it's unclear. Obviously, some of these people have done some horrible shit, but it's unclear what exactly they've done and what actual evidence it is that they've done like bad shit, right? Like,
but that's why the police need to arrest them, and they need to start doing, conducting investigations. Investigations, man. Well, on what?
I mean, they first need to investigate, right? And then if they have some cause,
it's been 6.5 years. Yeah, 6.5 years.
Look, what I picked up from this, like, first of all,
investigating. Nothing, man.
Have you analyzed the emails, the actual text of the emails? Like, I want to do a word cloud of the emails and just like see what comes up, because from what I've read of the emails, like these global elite pedophiles are absolutely masters at innuendo in terms of phrase. Like, they're not going to say like, I'll see you at Epstein Island on this date. Bring all the evaded tax and the 15-year-old girls. Like, they're not going to say that on a text. They're going to like wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Pizza.
Love Jay, and then like everything that happened with, like, unfortunately, there's no witnesses to a lot of this stuff. Maybe the financial stuff you can.
Okay, so there was one dude yesterday. His name is Peter Attia, who quit his job at CBS because of some of the emails that were leaked about him, or that he actually wrote something along the lines of, "I've done stuff at Epstein, with Epstein that I can't tell anybody about," and he said something along the lines of, "Pussy is low carb." The dude needs to get arrested.
Oh, really? Wait, but Peter Attia
quit his job yesterday.
Yes.
What?
Wait, so Peter Attia is like a famous author. He wrote a very big book called Outlive, very good, around kind of like basically health and longevity. Kind of started like the longevity movement from like not intaking anything, just like getting control over your body basically, and whatever, eating healthy, working out, etc. And then was it yesterday that he kind of like resigned, whatever?
Yesterday it was big news. And look, from my perspective, that's not enough. Losing your job out of shame is not enough. Men, you involved in this crap, you need to go to jail.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But that, speaking of jail, SBF's trying to get out of it as well. But before we go, we're free men, and
I said something, and then he started following me on Twitter.
Like, SBF, well done.
Yes.
You just need.
I don't know. I mean,
here is my newsletter.
No. I was just. I said like when Anthropic raised that new round, right? I was like, I don't think people understand how good SBF was as like a venture investor, right? At some point, he had 7% of Robinhood. He was the early seed investor in Anthropic, and like a few other things. And I was like, oh, this guy is like one of the best venture investors of all time. And then he immediately like liked and retweeted it, and then followed me.
That's good. You just need Mashinsky and Do Kwon to complete the bingo.
I mean, if he gets out of jail with a pardon, he's definitely coming here.
Definitely, yeah. Especially since like he has to, take was like very heavy Democrats, and like very few people remember the the duo, the couple of phrase, effective altruism,
Yeah.
which was SPF and Caroline. That was their whole idea, right? That like they kind of it's I'm trying to struggle
No,
how to
so
remember.
the idea is make a lot of money and then direct it at what you
Yes.
think could better society, which I will very much subscribe to. It's just that they got it like very twisted with the whole
Yeah.
polycule and like a bunch of other things, I
Yeah, it's
guess.
sort of like like morality is only, there's a question in moral philosophy, like is moral like doing good, or is it only dependent on the outcome? Like if the outcome is good, like it doesn't matter if you're greedy and lustful and envious inside, as long as it leads to children getting fed or any sort of plus some outcome that society can agree has value. And I think that's was the problem of effective altruism, but it burnt at the altar of SPF. Now he's trying to pivot into this kind of MAGA, freedom-loving Ross Ulbricht 2.0 to get out of jail. But enough about jail. Mati, where are we in the world? Like, give me a little like bird's eye view of, it's been it's been a nice couple drops since we last spoke, and people are wondering how long are we going to be in this kind of single-digit fear and greed territory for?
Yeah, and by the way, that the outcome versus the intention. I mean, this is the exact one of the fundamental differences between Judaism and Christianity is where Christianity judges the outcome. It's okay if you do something bad as long as it has a good outcome, whereas in Judaism, the outcome is less important as the intention or the action that you've actually taken. But anyways, yeah, getting to the charts, both the outcome and the intention are absolute dog shit. I don't know. Bitcoin come down from 126,000 all the way down to 63,000 this morning. I'm sharing my chart. I don't know if you were showing it a second
I
ago.
was showing it, but then you
Yeah.
went into
That is more
some
than
theological stuff. So I wanted to see your full
I went
visage.
into. I was wrapping up your theological stuff,
I
man.
know it's a great way to start the day, bro. It's that looks ugly. That looks like the
Yeah.
Satan's dick, not so theological.
Yes. Well, here's the good news: is that we're coming up. We've got. I mean, these type of retracements are to be expected in markets, and they have. We have seen these type of pullbacks before, so really nothing new. This is the major support level over here, 58,000. This is the one that Peter Brandt mentioned before the latest leg down. Obviously, if that gives way, I mean, the next support isn't all the way down until just about 40K. And that, it's possible, especially if this bear market holds on. What I've been writing about recently, actually, I'm about to release a newsletter, most likely later today, for the Quantum Economics newsletter, which is that there's 4 independent metrics that show that right now is the most uncertain times in modern history. So the term uncertainty is being used in government reports, in financial analyst reports, in corporate briefings, and Google Trends. Uncertainty is off the freaking charts on all 4 of those metrics. And so, what does it all mean and how to position yourself? For those of you who want to read that, go ahead to qe.finance, subscribe to the newsletter. It's absolutely free and it's coming out later today.
We're at the 4th turning.
Yeah, man, Mashiach is coming. I mean, look, if we're talking to Israelis, it's like it's simple. It's simple to understand. Mashiach
Where's
is
the
coming.
red
That's why I'm
gefer?
growing out my beard, because when he gets here, I don't want to have a naked face.
I don't. That's why I do deadlifts, because I don't want, when he gets here, I don't want to have a 2-digit deadlift. That will be very embarrassing when I meet Mashiach. But I definitely hear what you're saying. I'm actually checking out the Google Trends right now for uncertainty, and I want to kind of go to Elon. Like you showed obviously the pullback. Before I want to go to Elon to hear about this fourth turning, but I want to see S&P 500, because yesterday there were a lot of big SaaS companies lost a lot of market cap, had a big dump. A lot of people
it's in the
freaking out
newsletter
over AI.
The indexes haven't shown volatility. VIX hasn't shown volatility, but what has shown volatility is the single stock metrics, which is basically means that the volatility is being masked by the index, but underneath the surface, there is a lot of churn. Yesterday was a bloodbath for a lot of companies like IBM and other technology stocks on the realization that AI is going to be displacing. I mean, let's face it, the SaaS model is toast. I mean, who in the world, like there are companies out there like Salesforce or others that charge like hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for, to rent out their software for, for companies to use it as a CRM or whatever. And like, this is something that I could vibe code, in a month, right?
I listen. I don't fully agree with that.
Let's hear it. Okay, go ahead.
No, listen, because I do agree with you that SaaS used to be sort of like a safe haven, and these are companies that are going to continuously generate money, and they're having the earth shaking under their feet. I don't think they're safe. I think many SaaS companies are going to disappear, but you can't really vibe code it in a month, and not even probably in 6 months. Beyond that, there's a lot of sales, and there's a lot of customer discovery, and there's a lot of tailoring things, to whatever the client
I'm
needs.
not saying I could vibe code Salesforce in a month, but what I could do is take a company that's using Salesforce and build them a custom solution that would be much better for their business and cost them almost nothing in comparison.
Fine. Like, I mean, I don't say this is completely out of scope, but this will take time. And the thing is, like, all these SaaS companies are not just standing still and not doing anything. All of them understand that there's something happening under their feet. They are going to adapt. I mean, some of them at least will adapt. Some of them won't and will die out or will get acquired by the big ones.
Right, but markets are forward-looking mechanisms, and so you're right. They're safe today and tomorrow and for the next year, or 2 or 5. But most of these companies are trading on 20 or 30-year multiples, meaning they're not trading on the revenues of today. They're trading on what they should be worth in 20, 30 years, assuming that they hold their market position, and they will.
And some of them won't. Some of them will. That's kind of like my point. And I think, like, if we're talking about like displacement in that whole thing, I have this riff about like what kind of, I said this like a few weeks ago, and then yesterday Anthropic like came out and said, oh, the Chinese, they're distilling our models and creating their own versions of our models that are much cheaper. And I don't think people really can grasp how big this is and what China is doing. It's essentially going scorched earth. They distill these models and they release open source models that compete with them. They're not as good, but they're very close to it. And what happens is that China is looking to essentially destroy the US. I think maybe half of the GDP growth right now in the US is like AI related CapEx, right? Like data centers, fundraisers and stuff like that. And kind of like all the money that is, going between these companies. And if China is able to, undercut basically all these models, like what they're doing is essentially gutting the US economy. And I think this is absolutely their intention. This is absolutely what they're trying to do. And it's just going to be very, very interesting to see if they're successful.
It is. I absolutely agree with you on. The thing that I think a lot of people are still missing, though, is that there's another piece to this puzzle, which is energy, right? Because anybody can technically, replicate an LLM model. That's not the difficult part. That stuff is open source already. But that stuff requires infrastructure to run on, right? Not only the server farms, but the energy that feeds those server farms. And that's where the next battle is going to be. Much, much more than the proprietary part of the technology is just actual raw power that's going into it.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys a question on the AI side, and then we'll move to, I think, a little bit of, the forgotten field of cryptocurrencies. But, like obviously the foundation models, Anthropic and OpenAI, they're playing different games, right? They're not vibe coding. They're building, infrastructure, resource heavy, sort of network states with all this compute and intelligence. Like they have to procure chips and hardware and cooling and all of these things. They're pushing and optimizing, and it's really super mega industrial scale. So the foundation models is not something that a guy with a startup in his garage can probably wish to compete with. Then there's the application layer and the vertical agents and everything. So that's kind of where people are trying to play, right? Where people are trying to build businesses. And I don't know if you guys saw an article from this lady who had a company that automated Facebook ads with Claude, with that kind of idea. And then Claude released some sort of integration straight to Meta ads. And it kind of, she just wrote an article like, I had a startup last night. Today I don't have a startup. So my question is like, if where are we? Where is first of all, is anything safe? Because like, at the end of the day, what should founders who want to build something? I'm not going to be haughty enough to say 10 years, because none of us knows what's happening in 10 years. But something that will stand 2, 3, 4 years test of time, like, and they want to build in the AI space, like, how can they build something and be confident or semi-confident that the foundation models, the big guys, aren't going to come tomorrow and just add a little feature, add a little tab onto, ChatGPT, onto Claude, onto Gemini, that completely puts them out of business. So like my question is like, where on the AI stack is there room for the little guy to build, to innovate, to like the disruptor, the startup, the entrepreneur in the garage? Like where did that guy fit in to this whole geopolitical arms race that you're describing here?
So I mean, I would just say, if you start a startup and you're looking for any form of certainty, like, you're not going to make it. Like, there's nothing certain about the startup world, and then with AI, there's nothing certain about that either. I think the advantage that AI gives you, especially if you're developing anything in software, is that you don't really need external money to get going. You can start things, you can experiment, and you can build things. And I think, on a side kind of like topic, this is a very big problem for venture capitalists like myself. And that model will have to change.
How so?
Well, traditionally I do sort of like pre-seed seed investments, and when I invest in a small team, I give them whatever, $1 million, 2, and they're supposed to use most of that money to develop software, and then use the rest of that money to market this, or get to kind of like the initial traction. And right now they don't need the first half, and they can do probably the second half themselves, just being like grungy and
Bootstrapping.
Yeah, bootstrapping and yeah, basically not needing to take any capital. And then the question is, like, if they start even getting revenues, should they even raise money? And so that's kind of something that happens. And then they don't have really a moat, because anyone, if they could develop this in a few months, then anyone can develop this software in a few months. And then the question is, like, I don't know, my take here is that there's going to be a lot more startups that generate $1 million to $5 million a year, then there will be kind of like the outlier unicorns, which the VC model is highly dependent on that outlier unicorn model. So that's kind of like on the AI front. And I think we talked about all the changes that are coming, and there's a very good book. It's called the Fourth Turning. And in the book, he kind of like describes, I don't know if we talked about this here, but he kind of describes like, the changes in the world coming in every 80 years. There's like big change, kind of, I think, exactly a generation. And then, 80 years ago, it was kind of like World War II. 80 years before that, it's the American Civil War. 80 years before that, or like a bit even more than that, it's kind of like the Revolutionary War in the US. And so every 80 years we are in for kind of like a big turmoil. And I think it's it's crypto, it's geopolitics, it's AI, it's whatever, Israel, Iran, it's China and Taiwan, it's Ukraine and Russia, and all these things are kind of like a part of one big insane shakeup that we're going to have. And just kind of like as an analogy, right? Like World War One, for example, got started with horses and muskets or whatever, and they finished it with like airplanes, right? So the change that can come in a few years, like I'm hoping it's not going to be again war, because compared to previous wars, we now have nuclear weapons, we can destroy ourselves. But what will happen out the other end of it is going to be a radically different humanity. Like we're going to work differently. There's going to be like completely different jobs. There's going to be completely different things that we do, and completely different ways that we spend our lives. And yeah, I mean, I can go on and on about kind of like my thesis about Israel and why we're different and whatever.
No, I'm very curious. You obviously the foot turning sounds amazing. I was thinking about it yesterday in the shower, actually, that if you would take a German, right, and you put him in the 1600, whatever, like he lived under a Kaiser and imperial, rule. The Austro-Hungarian Empire had their own ruler. There were, the kings and queens were doing like matchmaking between the princes in order to solidify. There was it was an imperial setup.
Oh, I can't hear you.
We lost you, man.
And now
we're back.
Back.
That came to an end around the First World War. Like that's when the world, like late 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, First World War. That's when the world shifted, right? Both Germany and Austro-Hungarian Empire, that all shifted from being ruled by kings and queens to being ruled by, the League of Nations, like a distributed arm of countries, nation states, with borders that are fixed in international law and the Geneva Convention and all of that. And I think now we're kind of towards the end of that, because AI is not going to respect the rules that us, human flesh and blood have set in place for it. It's not going to respect the boundaries that we've set in place for it. AI wants to go multi-planetary. It doesn't care about the, longitude and longitude of your national borders. So I feel like,
I have to push back on that. I'm sorry. AI doesn't have wants and desires. AI is a result of the programming and the directives that we give it. It doesn't have any free will, right?
I wouldn't say it's free will. I think I would distinguish between the will that we have as choosing beings and the sort of moral component to that. To like AI might not have a will of its own, like it might not have an individual will of its own. But Kevin Kelly talks about it. It's like if you see this technology, like it's got this natural kind of, that's what the accelerationists believe. Like information wants to be free and multiple and expand into the world. So I don't think it's it's not like a single ChatGPT deciding to wake up and do this and that. I think it's the AI, like information's desire and data's desire to be free and to multiply and to increase in variety, velocity, and volume, right? And I think that's what we're seeing. Whether or not the AI is deciding that you can see that you can, it's a nuance in the word. But I want to ask Elon, because you mentioned the problem, right, of the VC model sort of relies on, missing 8 times, hitting twice, and those twice are billion-dollar companies plus. And the VC model in crypto relies around like, raising a bunch of money, pre-TGE, giving people like tiered allocation, then doing a TGE, Binance listing, exit, right? And now you're saying that AI is going to bring a lot more of these like solo businesses, single person or like small team startups that are profitable but don't raise money. And that's kind of, I feel like you kind of left it as a problem. So obviously you guys in venture, you're writing checks. Like, what are some of the solutions? What are some of the ways you see venture investing, or just kind of people who have capital to deploy in the venture sector? How do you see that rolling? How do you see that emerging with the rise of AI?
So I'll say that, like, I'll prelude that, and I think a lot of VCs in the space were like, kind of like the path that you described. Let's kind of like Fugazi launch a token, find the marginal buyer after us, and dump on them. And I don't think we didn't really play that game. I mean, we are here kind of like for the long run. Our goal is to build like a franchise around like digital assets, and our goal is not to max extract. And so, like, most of our investments were into products that we believe will be here, 5-10 years. That's kind of like the goal. With that in mind, I think, as we kind of said before, the cost of producing software is going, if not to zero, then at least it's going down to like $20 a month, right? So there's no moat in developing any sort of software. If you're diligent enough, you'll be able to reproduce an existing product. And if I paid founders money to develop the product, and they don't need that money, then what else do they need? And I think I call it, first of all, kind of like marketing and distribution. That is something that is not going to disappear. And I think something that is happening right now, and we're gonna be seeing this very soon, is like the slopification of everything, right? You're going to get hundreds of emails, hundreds of DMs on every fucking platform. And it's going to be impossible to follow. It's going to be impossible to understand like what is real and what is not, and what you should pay attention to. And so I think in that realm, if you are able to generate whatever your authentic form of marketing is, then like you'll be able to shine. And I mean, I'll plug in a portfolio company called Faves. They're doing this with athletes, basically connecting athletes to brands that want to advertise with them. And athletes are never going to be replaced, right? It's always going to be someone you're going to follow, you're going to admire, especially with the Olympics and stuff like that. So kind of like my take is that you will need to find authentic, real world kind of like distribution channels, because this slopification is just going to ruin everything. So that's kind of on that regard. What else? So I think there are other moats that crypto can actually provide, and historically it has. Liquidity, which could be mercenary, whatnot, like move from place to place, but also kind of like the network. It's very hard to replicate network effects, especially when you figure out that it is kind of like humans. And yeah, because I mean, you'll have infinite bots writing crypto, but because there's like liquidity tied to it, and you can't just, spring up, you cannot print liquidity out of nowhere. Like there is some form of, it's grounded in reality, and it won't be able. I mean, you can't slop liquidity. So that's kind of like generally my takes. I don't know if you have any questions about any of those things, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel you. It's like distribution, super important, and liquidity. Like at the end of the day, I think there's part of why like there's a sort of sense of like rush and urge, and like for me, I see AI and like it got the potential to give you so much time back, but everyone seems to be working harder and like pushing harder.
Yeah, I'm definitely working harder
because like it's just there's a sort of sense of FOMO. Like if you don't have your AI bot trading running, like beating alpha decay, or you have like a drop shipping agent that is making you whatever you need a month, a year, whatever. Like if you don't get that in 6 months, if 2027 comes and you don't have your money machine, then you're gonna be a slave to the bourgeois for the rest of your life. So there's kind of this like
yes.
rush.
I'm speaking to so many people, like it's what a lot of people are saying. Like now is the split. You're either gonna be making money and paying a shitload of taxes to UBI to feed the guys who are gonna smoke weed all day and play Modern Warfare. Basically, the society is gonna split into two.
Look, I'm don't
get left behind.
Yeah.
I'm trying to play the other side. I'm trying to say, listen, like AI, it's not about like getting building all your agents so that you can relax in some future time. That could be a year, that could be 5 years, that could be 20 years. It's about like how do you kind of if you're a business owner, or even if you're an employee, how do you kind of like if you set up your agent to do all your tasks on your work from home days, like you can just click, carry on. Like, how do you take back your time now? Like, now is the time that is precious. That there's time for experimenting with new things, for having hobbies, for going, touching some grass, smoking some grass, playing on some grass, mowing the grass, whatever it is you want to do with grass, you have time for it. So, that's kind of my philosophy with AI.
100 ways to interact with grass. Yeah.
Matty,
Um,
what about you? What's your take here on the AI building frenzy?
I think it's amazing. I mean, I saw a tweet from my friend Joe Visani from Lunar Crush the other day, who basically said, "Look, we have the opportunity to, work 5% of the amount of time and do the same amount of productivity, but most of us are just going all in. We're working double as hard and getting 1,000x the productivity." Human beings are addicted to growth. We're addicted to forward momentum, and that's what's going to propel our race to the next level. I mean, it's exactly what's going on right now. And we could, I mean, obviously, I love spending time with my family. I've been working from home since before COVID, so that I can do that. I could take my kids to the park or home from school in the end of the day. Something I was not able to do, while I was working in Tel Aviv. And now with AI, I find myself like giddy sometimes, that like I can't sleep at night because not I just like what I can accomplish in just a few hours is just it's so incredible that you don't want to waste it.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel. I mean, not that, like, obviously it makes you value your time even more, and then when you do have your time with with the family and stuff like that, you appreciate it more. I believe that. I feel that way anyways. But obviously each person is their own. But what I like to think about is the collective impact, because if I believe both the three of us on this call, and probably most of the people who are watching at least, have managed to use AI to 10x, 50x, or even 100x their productivity over the last 4 or 5 years. But that has not affected global GDP yet. I mean, look at the stock market has not done 10 or 50x, and and that's something that I had been like kind of wondering about, and even talking to the AI about what's going on over here, and analyzing, at least from the metrics, that hasn't hit like the corporations yet. They haven't like figured out how to integrate this into their daily stuff, and it's coming. And during the yapping craze, what I believe what we were witnessing was people from countries who were not necessarily able to join the conversation before, but suddenly 1 billion people are able to communicate fluidly, right, with the rest of us. And I think that's just powerful. And you want to think about where that's going to take us as the human race. I think it's only upward, and it's only forward. Um, yeah, the questions obviously around, is Sam Altman going to make all the money, and Elon Musk and the rest of us are going to be straggling? That is a question. That is something that I think that we all need to kind of wonder about and work towards. And I think that we're going to get it right. I think that there will absolutely be utopia on Earth. I've been thinking about this for way longer than even before the internet. It's like eventually, right, we get to a place where we don't really need money anymore, because everything, all resources are abundant.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there will be
But-
status games, and there will be some
Yes.
form of hierarchy.
Status games will always exist, but my problem with the world right now, and like, there's obviously a lot of problems with the world, but like on a foundational level, like, status games will always exist. There'll always be rich and poor and people that flex. But my issue is that it's like, okay, we've done a great job. If you look at the stat, like, of alleviating people out of poverty, right, with modern technology and urbanization and helping people grow crop yields and whatever. But I think in the last couple of years, at least since COVID, you're seeing sort of a reverse of that trend where there's like a disappearing middle class. Some people that are finding it harder and harder to afford daily life. And I could pull up the stats, or we could rely, each one of us knows, from their own life, from their own network, from their own surroundings. We have some sort of anecdotal evidence to go by, and that shouldn't happen. We have this, even before AI, we have all these productivity gains, and that's just not like people can still finding it difficult to afford food, shelter, clothing. So, like, obviously the status gains will still be there, but and that's why I'm so bullish on Bitcoin and crypto, because like the fiat system, the government system, the banking system, is designed to steal from the poor and give to the rich. Like, it's the reverse Robin Hood in the flesh, and the only way to kind of correct that is to build an alternative system, which is what we're doing with Bitcoin and stable coins. And I think sometimes we forget, we're like, there's a large streak of thinking that our job is to just provide like a better database for TradFi. Like, our job now is to just provide like more ways to reduce costs for Deutsche Bank and JP Morgan. Like, our job here, we're building an alternative system that can capture that abundance and distribute it to the world, and not one that leaks for everyone else and just makes the rich richer. Because Elon Musk is about to be the world's first trillionaire. He'll get there very soon, eventually. Like, that SpaceX XAI merger bumped his numbers, and he's going to get to $1 trillion, and more people are skipping chicken because they can't afford it at the supermarket. So I think, that's the Bitcoin thesis going forward, because there's never been a better time to hold Bitcoin. This bear market is very anomalous because gold has been going up, because everything's going up. But at the end of the day, the future robots will need this. Otherwise society is doomed, I'm afraid. So utopia needs Bitcoin. That's kind of I agree with you, Mati, but that's kind of my take. But I want to know, on the crypto side, Elon, Mati, like, I've kind of taken a step back from X. I'm also building on with vibe coding. Like, there's a joke now on X. Like, everyone's like, "Oh, I have 7 open claws running, and my credit bill is like, show us what you've built." And it's like, no one's actually showing what they've built. It's just like, people kind of flexing their Mac Minis stacked up like into a tower. So I've actually been building. I'm gonna start getting more active once it gets done. But like, my first like product is basically like, it's a co-pilot. It doesn't generate slop. The idea is to, if you have, you want to build your brand on LinkedIn, you can go here, you could do an interview, right? And that interview will ask you a bunch of questions, and that generates an MD, a markdown file with your voice profile. And then you can go to the content studio, and you can, start to cook content with your voice profile. And I'm going to kind of put, obviously the AI, like, everyone can use Claude and ChatGPT. I think the moat here will be knowing how to construct a banger. Like, and I'm been in the lab studying this. So that is Linky Boss. It's going to be integrated into my site. So watch out for that. A little self plug. But now I want to move to the crypto corner, because we still have coins to worry about. But obviously, ever since Kaito pulled the plug, ever since X pulled the plug on Kaito,
Thank God that happened.
I've been less in the trenches. I've lost a big source of reason to stay on X, and I just feel like, in general, like, the ICOs aren't happening. There's no, like, campaigns. Like, there's just a general lack of interest. So despite that lack of interest, because we all know that the next, top 20 coin is probably being built in the bear market as we speak. So point me in a good direction to look for gems, to look for narratives that could rebound. Because right now, obviously, everyone's attention is on AI. But what narrative are you watching for the rebound?
So I have this riff where I say, like, this has happened so many times throughout history. And basically what happens is that there's a status quo, there's a rebellion against the status quo, and then there is, a convergence between the status quo and kind of like the rebellion. And this is, what do you call it? Napster, right? Napster is a rebellion against, the status quo of the time. And then the integration of that to Spotify. And then later on, you have things like torrents, which were rebellion against kind of like the movie industry, and the integration of that is Netflix. And the same thing is happening in crypto. TradFi is going to adopt us, but we haven't really changed the system from within. That's kind of like the bottom line. And so fiat money is the what do you call it? Like the status quo. Bitcoin is the rebellion, and stable coins is kind of like the integration. And I think that's where we're going to see most, if not all, of the future growth. It's going to happen not just in stable coins, but in TradFi. And TradFi is going to figure out how to adopt crypto on its own terms. This means unlikely that we're going to have like Fugazi TGEs anymore, and what do you call it? Like fully permissionless shit where we see, I don't know, North Korea in the same pool as JP Morgan. That's just not going to happen. And if you speak to like older people who were here like during the internet and were building like during the internet, they would say it felt like the same way in like 1997, 1998. There's a concept called like eternal September, where just like infinite amount of people started onboarding onto the internet. I think it was like September 1997. And then from that on, it was no longer a counterculture rebellious movement. It was kind of like a part of the mainstream. And yeah, so that's, I can tell you that's kind of like what my focus is. I'm looking for people and founders who are building, and at the end of the day, want to sell it to TradFi. They want to solve problems for TradFi, which kind of means compliance, semi-permissionless things, KYC. But that's what these guys need in order to come on chain. And I think Tempo kind of showed what can happen, right? Like Stripe, kind of like one of the biggest payment processors, is building their own L1 based on EVM. But I think like many are going to do similar things. I don't know if like specifically L1s, because why? You can just build like an L2 with whatever you want. But yeah, like a lot of these things are going to go that way. Speaking to a bunch of Israeli kind of like fintech companies who are looking to integrate stablecoins and some of these things. And yeah, other than that, like we have the two other primitives that are kind of emerging and will also merge with TradFi, which is prediction markets and perpetuals. Once TradFi really figures out perpetuals, they're going to understand this is the purest, best form of leverage that you can create, that you can use, basically. And I think that is going to be huge once TradFi understands it. And then, also prediction markets to some degree. Other than that, I can say like I'm speaking to founders, and the founders that are coming right now, these are the best guys, because they're not here, because it's shiny and nice. They're here because they actually want to build in the space. They believe this is the future of finance, and it is. It's just
going
to be less.
By the way, thank you. Really appreciate that. Yeah, I agree, and especially in markets that are so uncertain, and we see like gold going through the roof and everything like that. There really is a search for durability, right? That's like nobody wants to take any risk, and I hear where you're going with the stable coins. I think that in RWA specifically, the big thing that everybody wanted to do and everybody tried to do and failed is real estate, right? So people like, let's tokenize an apartment building in Manhattan.
I think that's retarded.
Well, I thought the first time I heard about it, I thought it was amazing. But then, reality comes and slaps you in the face and goes, you cannot do that. There's laws that prevent this kind of stuff. And so what we figured out actually is something that's a lot adjacent to real estate. And what we're building right now is called quantum assets, where we're focusing on mineral royalties. And so mineral royalties are a form of passive income that high net worth individuals have been using for decades. Basically, the way it works is you buy a property, and the oil and gas that's drilled on the property and that's produced from the property, usually by a company like Chevron or Mobil, and then they pay the owner of the property something like 20 or 30%, depending on the deal. And so my partner, Doug Hardwick, we're building Quantum Expeditions, our Bitcoin mining venture, has been dealing with these type of properties for more than 30 years, and actually has access to some that are quite good. And this one that we just listed, the Agen unit, which is going very well for our customers, is basically starting with one well only, and currently on the one well is estimated at 13% annual return. And then it has another 2 wells planned over the next 3 years, which should bump up the returns to something like 35%. Estimated, obviously, these are projections and all the regular financial disclaimers apply. But yeah, this for us, this is the regulatory clean way of doing it, because there's no pooled venture. You're basically investing in, or it's not an investment, but it's actually more of a way of gaining from the royalties that are accrued, which are derived from commodities. And nobody's buying a piece of quantum assets. Nobody is pooling their money together, but rather the funds or the royalties are derived from commodity-based income, which is done by the producers, the billion-dollar oil companies. So that's one that we're building right now. It has resonated quite well within our community. And I mean, to think about it,
what are they doing right now? Like, what's the process of this right now?
What do you mean?
Like, without crypto, right? You said like people are still using it, like rich people are using it. Like, how are they using it right now? Like, how are they buying kind of like commodity royalties?
So what it means is you need to go and actually buy the property. So it's the same thing as like buying a piece of land. That means, first of all, you need to do the research on which pieces of land are producing at the moment, which is where our expertise really comes in handy, and our access to those type of deals. Because a lot of people, they want to do this, and they just don't know where to start, or don't know where, which physical spaces are producing at the moment, or which are likely to increase. So that's number one, is you need to know where, and then you need to actually buy a physical parcel of land, which that comes with a high barrier to entry, because you need to have 50,000, 100,000 or more to buy the piece of property. And what we're doing by tokenizing it is we're opening up access to everyone. Anybody on the internet can come in for as little as $250 and claim a piece of the royalties that are being generated by these properties.
So wait, so who does the due diligence and research and stuff like that on these things?
Our team.
Okay.
Chess stamp a property. Look at you guys, like it's we were talking about pictures of monkeys a couple years ago, and now it's like, how do I make 10% for TradFi? But I guess we all have to grow up someday. Let me take this off. I'm gonna go put on a suit. So it kind of seems like the degen side of crypto is dead. It's kind of, everyone's kind of pivoting to the the grown up side, but I think we'll miss it. I don't want to grow up too much, because at the end of the day,
look, in November, while we were building this, November, December, while things were going through the roof, me and my team are going, it's only 10%. Who in crypto is going to invest in something that's going to give you 10% when you can invest in a meme coin that could do 100x? And then the market started crashing, and then we're like, okay, we might be onto something over here. So this is not like, we're not building it for suits. I mean, the suits, I believe, will only come, because I was discussing with my uncle, who also manages a sizable portfolio, and he's like, I would never invest in something like that. That doesn't even make any sense. So okay, but what if we have other customers who are interested in these type of deals, and who, like, for $250 can get involved in, in something that they would otherwise not be able to, not without a lot of capital to start with and a huge team. What if we managed to do $1 billion in turnover on our marketplace? He goes, oh, okay, then well, that would be quite interesting then, right? And so for us, it's more of, the suits may or may not come, but that's not what we're building it for. We're building it for everybody, is to open up access to this type of passive income that they wouldn't never be able to otherwise get.
Yeah, definitely. I like 10% sounds really good, but I want to get to Alon's question before we go. We got 5 more minutes, and I do want to show you guys a chart because on March 1st, in about 5 days, we are going to hit a very special, very insanely huge Bitcoin milestone, and I'll pull it up now. It's a Bitcoin supply. Obviously, we all know, how the halving works. We all know how the supply, it tends towards 21 million. And how close are we to 21 million Bitcoins? Let's see what we have over here. Bitcoin is currently 19993 million Bitcoin. So we're all in about 5 days, we're going to mine the 20th million Bitcoin, right? That means that only 1 million Bitcoin will be left to mine forever, eternity. The last Bitcoin obviously coming online in 2134. So we have another 108 years to mine 1 million Bitcoin. So we've mined 20 million Bitcoin in 17 years, and we have another 108 years to mine 1 million Bitcoin. Right? If that doesn't make you want to go out and get some, then I don't think there's any hope for you, really. If you're listening to this, 20 million, it's a huge number. I think we should celebrate somehow. 20 million is a big, big number. We're getting to the end, and like anything in Bitcoin and in life, there's two sides to the story. So obviously, Bitcoin getting to 21 million, right? It's obviously going to have less incentive for the miners, but that's not slowing them down. Hash power is pumping. We can show hash power here. Hash power, it's price follows hash, as we say, and the miners don't seem to be concerned, right, with kind of how this is playing out, and they still lending their hash power to the market. So this is insane. It's insane to see Bitcoin supply dynamics in the flesh, and yeah, we'll be celebrating the 21 million milestone very, very soon.
Pizza party?
I guess so. We should have it's been a while since we got a DJ on Collider's balcony, but that's only kind of bull market. That's bull market things right there.
No, we're about to finish renovating the office, so
we'll have cool. You got to have a Hanukkah by DJ Pizza Degenerates, but not so much because everyone's in TradFi now. So we'll go to EY. We'll hand out flyers. We'll have a good time. But yeah, it's definitely something to watch. Yeah, thank you guys for coming. Elon, thank you so much. I mean, personally, I'm in kind of I feel like a lot of people are in this, recalibrating zone because AI is moving so fast and the Bitcoin price dropped. So you helped me see a lot of reason, like where the world is going, especially understanding, just kind of confirmed my biases, honestly, because like ever since I came back from Abu Dhabi, I've been very bullish on the traditional stuff, TradFi, crypto crossover, less so on the degen side. Obviously AI, trying to build my own business with AI, and so I definitely was good to hear a little bit of confirmation by it. Mati, is always a pleasure to get your takes on the age of utopia, and yeah, I'm in the same boat, bro. I think we need to prepare ourselves for a majestical time, because if you told someone the concept, like the word messianism in English, in Hebrew, it's become a slur. It's like to denote someone that has some delusions of grandeur, and like he's like kind of out of his mind crazy, right? And it's someone that's out of his mind crazy and acts in extreme ways as a result of that. That's kind of what messianism has in his head. But me, it's just about like, we're seeing now with AI, we can live in a world without famine, without disease, without hunger. That's all like, these are all technical challenges that you just need to throw a lot of sub agents and a lot of compute power at, and eventually these things will solve. So I'm definitely.
All of the prophecies are coming true through technology, man. That's exactly what I see. All of the Mashiach stuff, like it's all going to happen. It's all going to happen very soon, like in an instant. I mean, technology, the curve of technology has been growing at an exponential pace, right? And it took us 100 years to get from 1900 to 2000. Now we're like that same pace of growth happened in 10 years, and now it's going to happen in one. It's like literally. I was listening to a class last week that said 2030 is resurrection of the dead. That's where the rabbi put it, 2030. And that class was given 12 years ago and sitting on YouTube. And I'm like, yeah, I can see that. And in 4 years from now, like enough technology.
Does it count if they're not really back, but we've downloaded all their memories and put it into some sort of stochastic model and then put that into
and it's not only that, it's like you also think about it that the way that prophecy was supposed to play out also is in stages, right? So first comes the people who are recently deceased, right? And then later on, people who've been deceased for a long time. And so it's going to take a while till we can figure out how memories are stored within DNA and resurrect them. But the people who just passed away yesterday, I mean, it's a lot easier to come and grab their memories out of a fresh brain. So yeah, I mean, it all of this stuff, like, okay, like especially biotechnology, because biotechnology is the sleeping giant here, because everybody talks about AI and quantum computing, but nobody's talking about biotech. And biotech is like, you could do anything you want. I mean, you could like literally, change the color of people's eyes, or give somebody, another 2 sets of hands. I mean, this is like literally stuff like, I don't know. Some of it's pretty scary, but it's also extremely exciting in my opinion.
Biotech, cool, gentlemen. That was an epic session. Mati, great to have you back. Elon, thank you very much. I'll be sharing hopefully some snippets of that. Let's talk about the pizza party. Let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's keep building, and we'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
See you.
Thanks for hosting.